that it is I perceive that my practicing
internationally for defending human rights and promoting peace conflict resolution through diplomacy. A pioneer in environmental conservation and gender equity, committed to upholding the rule of law and establishing a successful, inclusive, and egalitarian Kenyan nation. He's also known recently for appearing in several cases representing the Gen Zs and also fighting to uphold the rule of law. Please, let's put our hands together for Senior Kambo. You remember, he appeared also in a sitcom. He has really talent. Very good.
Thank you. Wow. Madam President, distinguished friends on this side, and learned friends. Madam President, just for the record, it is an honor for me to be here as your advocate number 1056 of 1979. I actually missed being admitted in 1978 because I had to go for some postgraduate work in Cyprus. Otherwise, it would perhaps have given further meaning to what I'm just about to say. I've had my practicing certificate for the last 46 years, including when I served as our beloved country's 10th Vice President between 2008 and 2013. So there's been no break, even as Vice President. I just took out, and I want to advise those of us in public service, please don't give up your practice. That is your fallback position. Even if you become like my friend Macau, some advisor. My learned friends, this annual conference is themed Protecting Constitutionalism and the Rule of Law and Governance. It's not just timely. It is, in my opinion, the most consequential discussion of our time. Yesterday, Chief Justice Martha Koome, Madam President Faith Odhiambo, Professor Migaya Ketch delivered such powerful speeches that should have shaken anyone listening in this room and Stream B, as well as those watching from the outside, including the current leadership, in my opinion. Following Chief Justice Koome's observation that the work we do as a position is constitutional, yet the work we do is actually not in the Constitution. Allow me to contribute to this conversation. Learned friends, 2024-2025 is a case study of state repression, unlike anything experienced in our country's 22 to 62 years of independence. And please prepare yourselves to hear things you have not heard before from this podium, because I'm just exercising my role as Madam Chief Justice Koome said, the opposition. And we call it, we just have to say it as it is for the sake of this wonderful nation. The open daylight abductions, the public beatings and maiming of young Kenyans innocently protested the growth of Haiti-style militia groups with caches of small arms and light weapons, terrorizing Kenyans and looting businesses under the police supervision and protection. This reads like a blockbuster film. However, it is hardly an imaginative or artistic script that awaits performers to bring it to life on our screens. This is the current state of the nation, in which repression, tyranny, and flagrant contempt for the rule of law threaten to pervade and infect the country's soul. Members of the bar receive calls every day and night from shocked and frantic relatives looking for abducted Kenyans, most of whom are under 30. Their crime was using social media to openly voice their shock, their rage, and incredulity of a renegade state, because they exercise the fundamental liberties guaranteed under Constitution 2010, and more specifically, as you all know, Article 37 of the Constitution. They are regarded like terrorists and charged under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, POTA, and persecuted like criminals. Not long ago, a few young Kenyans came to my office and spent time narrating their traumatic experiences with abduction and torture to me. Despite what they went through, the physical and mental torture each of them endured, and their fears that death was just a minute away, they all spoke confidently about one thing: their faith in our Constitution to rescue not only them, but also the others who are in cages with them. It is that faith in the sanctity and supremacy of our Constitution that protects Kenya from becoming a failed state. Whether it's a state capture of parliament and of state agencies, when elements of the church and sections of the opposition have been compromised to look the other way, it is you, the Law Society of Kenya, who have held fast. You have become a beacon of conscience for the country in such perilous times. You responded to distress calls at all hours and volunteered your services. You, Madam President, would even place a call saying, we need a senior counsel to at least appear in Melamani, because we have to be there to stand with you. It has been said from this podium that you have performed well. But in my honest opinion, you have exceeded everybody's expectation. You and your able team. Never mind if your vice chair was seen campaigning here. Please forgive him. I've appeared with Kabata in committee, that prison, the anti-terrorism court, just next to committee maximum prison, in order to give these young Kenyans, putting them fear of their lives, so they will never again want to take into consideration their liberties under the Constitution. As united opposition, we have also taken firm and decisive action because we're saying enough is enough. I heard President Ruto say enough is enough in another context. I want to tell you that one of the things that President Ruto has done is to call for a joint PG, parliamentary group meeting, between ODM and UDA. It is within their right to do so. But let them be distant. If indeed I see the Secretary General of ODM here, Senator Sifuna, if indeed you attend that meeting at State House on Monday, for the love of this country and good order and governance and the supremacy of our institutions. We just had Professor Macau give a very good lecture on the separation of powers. And I've actually said Parliament itself is under state capture. Indeed, the fruition of this will happen on Monday, and I want to suggest to Senator Sifuna that if that happens, joint PG of UDA and ODM, the following day in Parliament, Honorable Jeanette Mohammed, who is supposed to represent me in Parliament as the majority leader, should immediately vacate and move now, so there will be good order, so that they now move and join together, so we will know that the opposition, the joint opposition, now will have the responsibility to have a new team. We are very able young legislators, like Babu Owino, who was just in here. Because of this regime's as Chief Justice said correctly yesterday, you cannot criminalize human rights defenders. We all know, under Article 20 of the Constitution, since 1920 of the Constitution, we imported, and this is part of our domestic law, those treaties that Kenya has been signatory to, and all those human rights treaties. Therefore, you cannot run away and pretend you're an island, when indeed, under Constitution 20 yourself, and you have sworn to uphold the Constitution as by law established. Therefore, these international treaties on human rights are part of our domestic law. We are then bound by the same. Because of this regime's inability to defend and protect rights and constitutional values, and guided by our Constitution, particularly Article 1, we established the People's Restorative Justice Commission on June 25th. Professor Makau, please hear me, my brother. We did that. This people-led initiative, chaired by Speaker Emeritus Jamie Muturi and Commissioners Dan Manzo, Fred Ogola, Asha Bashir, and Nerima Wako, has been working around the clock to restore dignity, rebuild lives, families, communities, and society, and hold perpetrators accountable for crimes against humanity. The opposition's initiative, that is already getting international recognition, is starkly different from the recently announced task force by President Ruto and Raila Odinga. The question we and majority of Kenyans are asking is, how can the perpetrators who gave the shoot to kill and the shoot in the leg decree be the judges in their own already admitted crimes? By compensating, and yeah, Professor Makau, compensate, yes, we are with you on that because it's important. But you cannot compensate a life of a Kenyan. One Kenyan life lost is one too many, and we cannot accept it. Going forward, all Kenyans arrested and detained during the Maandamano protests and Sabasaba Day demonstrations must be released immediately. But all DPP have been here. I've just shared that with you. The Director of Public Prosecution, so happy you're here to hear me say this. As your colleague in the profession, we are saying that all these demonstrators, we call them actually prisoners of conscience. They have to be released immediately and unconditionally. A lot of them are out on bail terms. Thank you again, Madam President. You work very hard. And all those advocates who gave their pro bono services to at least have these young men and women go back to their parents, we really congratulate you. This includes all those who are dragged through the anti-terrorism court and treated like terrorists. But we know the purpose, Parliament's intention in enacting, I think in 2012 or 2015, Porter Prevention of Terrorism Act. They didn't imagine. They were looking at transnational criminals like Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. And you get these young Kenyans and you take them there and you really put the fear of God in there. I can tell you end up hardening them. And I can tell you they're very committed to making sure that their country is given back to them. Remember the Gen Zs. Friends, today more than ever, I'm reminded of Brutus' words to Cassius in William Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar, Act 4. And I paraphrase, I think I will just quote it because it's so opportune, even as you look at the Indian Ocean from this place. It's a beautiful place. I don't know how many of us know that our sea, our coastline, is one of the best anywhere in the world. And I can tell you the southern sea, for example, the Diani area, amazing beauty. But therefore, remind you, under Julius Caesar, Act 4, that there's a tide in the affairs of men, which taken with the flood, leads them to fortune, omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. I would actually want to add to conclude that, and on such a full sea, that's what we are, Kenya, on such a full sea are we now afloat. And we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. It's an issue. End of quote. Time, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, learned friends, is extremely of the essence. It is important, and we have to come to the rescue of this nation from a regime actively determined to suspend our hard-fought constitution. The law is not just an instrument of order, it is a covenant of justice. If we are not vigilant, our constitution shall be eroded and Kenya's present and future will be undermined. Kenya cannot succeed without a vigilant and courageous legal profession. And you, the defenders of the law, cannot succeed without a principled political class willing to defend our independence. If we lose the law, we lose the nation. This is a challenge of the most consequential discussion of our time. Therefore, our presence in Diani, this particular time, Professor Makao has just said it's the first time he ever attended. He's a wonderful friend of mine, and I'm giving him the chance. Sometimes you got just to stand up. When you look to talk of elite consensus, what you are telling Kenyans to do is, it is time to eat together. It is time to plan our resources. Listening to Dr. Adesina today, one of the most distinguished African, not just academicians, but a person who has taken into this continent at heart. I know that his term comes to an end on 1st of September, and the task of the next president of ADP will go to Mauritania. I've just come from Abidjan, and I've seen some of the wonderful work the African Development Bank has been able to do. But when it comes to procurement, look at the slow pace of what is happening between Vanga, for example, from Bagamoyo in Tanzania to Malindi. This is a project that has been funded by the African Development Bank. We really owe it to this great mind who has spoken to us today. And in fact, as Feda said, you're going to end up your tour of duty on a very high note. Because as learned colleagues, we need to hear this kind of truth. That the Thika Superhighway, for example, people believe it was done by the Chinese, but I was there when Professor Adesina and President Kibaki launched the Thika Superhighway, and the money came from the African Development Bank. But who were the contractors, and how are they contracted? Even now, what is happening between Bagamoyo and Malindi? Very slow pace of implementation. We have to rise together. I know myself, I have no doubt in my mind that this audience that I've been part of since the last 2 days is the most important audience. If the Law Society of Kenya drops the ball, we have no country. Therefore, faith, continue to keep faith and hope. And let us continue to hope and fight. It is going to be the kind of fight you never know. For example, today, the High Court, and I really actually think the last line of defense, our courts of justice, Justice Lenaula, who even one time talked about interference with e-filing. Can you imagine? During the impeachment, my final remark, when President Ruto says that members of parliament have been asking for bribes from other arms of government, that is the consequence you suffer as a colleague. If you get compromised, you get to a place where you are now misused. Who is it to pay in excess of 10 million shillings per MP, per senator, to impeach Deputy President Gachagua? Was that corruption or was it not corruption? That is the truth. So when you have the perpetrators talking as if they are speaking for the Holy Land, then you wonder. You wonder. We continue to call them out, and we tell them, this is not the time to fear anybody. I'm telling you, if you take a breath, as Law Society of Kenya, we have no country. But if we stand together, the 1,700 who registered to be here, they must end up talking one time more than other people. I thank you. I thank you so much.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Super Senator of Nairobi County, Sifuna, CBS. He started his political career in 2013 and has steadily grown to become the Senator of Nairobi City after being elected in 2022 general elections. The committee, he has already sponsored several bills in Parliament, namely the Basic Education Amendment Bill of 2024, co-sponsored with Honorable Anthony Oluoch of Mathare constituency, the Sports Amendment Bill 2023, the Energy Amendment Bill 2023, giving significant contributions to important national and local legislation and policies. The Honorable Sifuna is a career lawyer, a credible public servant with a track record of inspiring change through his legislation, representation, and oversight. He has so many accolades, but I can say without a doubt he's remembered in LSK for being instrumental to change at the Law Society through the Okoa LSK lobby, which brought power, accountability, and surplus back to the membership. He's been an avid supporter of the Law Society of Kenya. I can say actively in my life in council, he has always come through and he has always been quite supportive. And so it's my great honor to invite supporter of the Gen Zs, injector of injectors, a person who speaks truth to power with humor, wit, and great charm. I invite you, Honorable Sifuna.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Madam President of the Law Society of Kenya. All protocols observed. I know it's lunch hour, but I'll be very brief. My name is Edwin Sifuna. I am the Senator of Nairobi, the Deputy Whip of the minority, still Honorable Kalonzo. And many of you know me as the SG of Owino. Now, I had a choice. I had a choice to attend that jamboree in Omagui or to join you here in Diani to discuss protecting constitutionalism, rule of law, and to demand accountability from those in power. I want to say here that I am a proud member of the Law Society of Kenya. As you've been told, my first time being elected was as a member of the Council of the Law Society of Kenya. Those of you who want to join politics, you will always hear people throw snide remarks and saying, this one cannot even be elected as a chair of a cattle league. So, your first time is very important to demonstrate to people that you can actually be elected to anything. And that is the reason why I am always happy to join you. And as Honorable Kalonzo has said again, you need to maintain some nexus between yourself and your profession, because you never know. The way some of the young people are talking in 2027, all of us might find ourselves back home, and we would have to find something else to do. I want to commend the leadership of the Law Society of Kenya, led by Madam Faith. You have stood in the gap for the people of Kenya. You have stood in the gap for those of us who may have failed the people of Kenya by abdicating some of the roles that were expected for us to execute. So, for standing for the rule of law, the Constitution, all of those things, and for defending the rights of Kenyans, we salute you, not just as the President, but the entire society led by our Council. Now, yesterday I came in and there was a conversation here that was going on. I found the Attorney General addressing this gathering, and she suggested that what leaders need more is prayer. I am not discounting the value of prayer, but if you are put in a position of advice, the most critical thing you need to do for your leadership is to give them the proper advice. These council members here are supposed to give good and proper advice to the President of the Law Society of Kenya. The Attorney General is supposed to give proper advice to the President. And the murmurs you are hearing in the hall is because many of us at the back there were shouting, you are preaching to the choir. The people who need that advice are not these lawyers. We know what the law is. We know what anticipatory bail means. The person you are supposed to be speaking to is your boss, because he's the one who doesn't know what anticipatory bail is. So, I hope she understands. She understands the concern that we have as a people, as lawyers, with everything that has been done by this administration to claw back on the freedoms and gains of the people. She spoke about anticipatory bail. She even tried to suggest, I don't know which era her mind slips to, that there were some, offenses that were not bailable. That is something we left back many years ago. And I hope she would also address herself to this thing of Kamata Fridays and pre-trial detention applications by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions here, which is being used by the Director of Public Prosecution. My understanding of your role, I think it is Article 157, that in the execution of your duties under the Constitution, you must have regard to two things: the public interest in the administration of justice and the need to prevent and or avoid abuse of the legal process. Now, when you sit in your office approving these charge sheets that are being manufactured in the police stations, do you ever lend your mind to your responsibility to us as the people who are being charged with some of these offenses that Kalonzo has spoken about? The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and I will say this without blinking, is a weak link in the fight against abuse of power in this country. You have a responsibility, when you are approving that charge sheet, to remember that it is you to prevent abuse of power and process in this country. So, we are here to call you out as well and tell you we are not very happy. The Chief Justice of this Republic gave us a history of these rights. You know, people always forget that everything that has been put in the Constitution is drawn out of the experience of Kenyans with previous regimes. There is an experience with, in fact, I always refer people to the CKRC report. You will understand them why are these things framed in the manner that they are framed in the current Constitution. So, I always go back. If you want to understand the frame of mind of Kenyans, why they say the DPP needs to also prevent abuse of process, because there was a prosecutor called Bernard Chunga. Everybody remembers Bernard Chunga. Maybe the other ones might not remember. Yeah. So, there is a historical context to some of these things. And the CJ took us through that history. And she spoke about corruption as well. And she asked, who is this that is bringing corruption to the judiciary? We in Parliament have also been accused that we are rent seekers, that we go to ask people for money. I want the President to tell this country, who are these people who go and ask his cabinet secretaries for money? They are his cabinet secretaries. Who are these people that ask governors for money? Let them tell us. Let them tell us. To make blanket accusations, and I want to say this. You see, personally like Sifuna, I had taken a public position on Gajaba way prior to the impeachment. Are you telling me you paid me to do something I already wanted to do? Had I not gone on record objecting to some of the things that were coming from the pulpit of the Deputy President, I had said it. Was I going to demand that you pay me to impeach Gachagua? So, Honorable Kalonzo, some of these things that people say, they are besmirching the entire house. If somebody has come to ask you for money, say, Sifuna asked me for money. There's a cabinet secretary who claims when they come to the Senate that somehow we ask them for money to be nice to them. I am a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Our proceedings are live. Those of you who have watched those proceedings, do you see a nice Sifuna? Is that what they pay me to do? Anyway, it's a difficult conversation, but we need to all agree that some of the people who are pointing fingers are the worst possible auctioneers in this country. In fact, their names are synonymous with corruption. If you ask a small child in this country what they know about that person, they tell you that is a thief. And then they are the ones standing and telling us, oh, Parliament is corrupt. All of those committees in Parliament, except two, all of those committees in Parliament are headed by members of his party, the President's party. All of them. Agriculture, lands, whatever it is. So, he should have a PG with his team first of all, before he calls all the members to go for PGs, join PGs. You know, you'll allow me to just speak because when Faith asked me to come to this conference, I asked her what would be my expectation as a guest here. I can see other people came prepared with speeches. The president told me, Sifuna just speak from the heart. And I asked her, are you sure? Are you sure that you want me to speak from the heart? But she has allowed me to do that. I just want to make some concluding remarks about some of the things that have been said today. First of all, Dr. Okello, I admire his courage. And I can assure you, Dr. Okello, that you will see a few Subarus. Because these are people who have very thin skin. Very thin skin. These are not guys who you will see. Dr. Okello works in the legal office at the Senate. You will see a disciplinary letter next week. Because the people we work around, they have such thin skin, they cannot take criticism. But today, I want to applaud his courage because he has spoken about a broken system and a broken promises. When we look at the, you see, for me, the solution is very simple. Kenyans must go back to ask themselves, what sort of government did we want? What sort of government did we want? And I've made it clear that all these people who talk about shiny things, railways from here to Malaba, how many markets we are constructing, those are not the people we are looking for. The aspirations of Kenyans as far as government is concerned will be found in the preamble of the Constitution. It talks about an aspiration by all Kenyans for a government based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and rule of law. So all of these people who are claiming they want home government in 2027, if you do not fit that mold of those 6 essential values, please, we are not what we are looking for. Are we together? Yes. There is already a manifesto. There is already a blueprint for the government we want to establish. No roads, no markets, freedom, respect for humanity, for human rights, respect for democracy, social justice and rule of law. Honorable Kalonzo, I am a believer in separation of powers. I have refused to go to the seat of the executive, and this is one of the criticisms I hope the CJ will share. One of my criticisms of her is that sometimes she forgets that she is a head of an institution, and you must protect the image of that institution. Don't allow yourself, even perception, don't allow the perception that you are subservient to the head of state. Don't go to his house. That's what I'm saying. Don't go to his house. If you have to meet as a head of government, choose a place where that physical separation, Honorable Kalonzo, between the two arms of government can be maintained. And that is the reason why Sifuna does not go to State House. And by the way, constitutionally, I am the supervisor of the executive. They come to me, I don't go to them. I am a believer in the rule of law, and I will tell you a story. Recently, there was a governor who was brought before the Senate for impeachment. If you look at those impeachment charges, all of them originated from the County Public Accounts Committee where I sit. All of them, including the hiring of more than 60 advisors and so on and so forth. They originated from a session of the County Public Accounts Committee. I was in that session. So, I believe in those charges. But, there is a High Court sitting somewhere in, I think it was there, that has said all the proceedings in the county assembly are null and void. It's not that I don't believe in the charges, but I am a lawyer, I am an advocate, I swore an oath. In fact, the judge in that case was so gracious as to say they were not going to stop the proceedings in the Senate. They are leaving it to us to exercise our minds on the space of constitutional institutions and the respect for the rule of law. What do you think Sifuna does? Yes, we say you can argue whether the order is flawed, and I saw some of my senior colleagues in the profession coming and telling us that there are actually orders that we can ignore. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? So, despite my feelings about the charges and the guy generally, I have a responsibility because some of us take oaths very seriously. We took an oath to defend this constitution. And I agree with those of you who are saying we need to go back and reclaim our country. Now, let me conclude. First of all, Justice Lenaola, I think, has painted the true picture of this country, who we are. I have had some political leaders claim that, we are in Africa, and that in Africa it is very difficult to remove a sitting president who is looking for his second term. He forgets there are people like Lenaola who made history by annulling a presidential election. Kenya is not like the rest of Africa. We are not the rest of Africa where these things happen. You understand? So, don't tell us about Uganda. Sure. Are we Uganda, man? Are you saying that? With all due respect to my friends from Uganda, we are not Uganda. So, Justice Lenaola and your team, for that courage to demonstrate that Kenya can be different. Kenya can be different. We don't have to be like the other African countries. We want to remind these people that on the day that Kenyans speak, all this bravado you see, Senior Counsel Guido Mugai, the good thing with me, I have the benefit of being in the exact same position that the people are in power, who are in power now, are in. We were the ones making all those statements of bravado, deep state, and putting up brave faces saying, oh, tutakuja tufagie gosho moja, wacha azunguke, sisi tukiingia mambo itakuwa tofauti. They are in the exact same position. We have been there, saying, oh, this is people are deep state. What the experience of 2022 taught me is that you, as the voters, are more powerful than these people actually imagine. You are more powerful. And never see that power. Never see that power. I have every confidence that when Kenyans express themselves, there is nobody who is going to be able to overturn the will of the people. Lastly, before we go, we're being told, Honorable Kalonzo, we must be brave, we must be bold. Saving a nation, this is like an existential fight for this very soul of this country. Saving a nation is not an easy task. We must be bold. The very people who ascended to power on the back of a slogan, they were running around just saying hustler. Nobody ever understood what hustler means. Those same people are saying we cannot do the very same and go on a slogan. One word. Say it yourself. Asante sana.
Honorable Senator of Nairobi, you must withdraw. I know the temperatures have risen, but now it's time for the yellow pages, but also are surprised. The Honorable Governor of Mombasa deemed it that it's quite important to come and see us and speak to us as members of the bar. He wants to give us a bit of advertising to entice us why this convening should move to his county.